Hello everyone, our TED Talk topic is about the death of illegal migrants in the UK. In January 2021, four men were jailed for their involvement in the death of 39 people in the back of the trailer. This group of people were from Vietnam, and they were illegal migrants. The cause of their death was suffocation in a container en route to their destination, which was the UK. All the smuggling gang members were sentenced to between 3 years to 41 years in prison for their participation in the heinous act. According to the evidence adduced in court, the migrants desperately tried to contact those outside so that they could have air, including trying to rip apart the top of the container, but all that failed. When the container was eventually opened, the men were long dead. The judges felt that although the group was trying to achieve an illegal thing, migration, they did not deserve what happened to them. They all left their families devastated, having to borrow money to fund their travel, relying on future income to settle those debts. Thus, their families were left worse off consequently. Overall, the jailed men operated an intricate web of smuggling people from Asia by taking them across the English Channel. Next up, I'm going to pass it on to Jennifer.
The incident reported by the media about the death of migrants introduces the big idea of criminology, social control and justice, and an ongoing refugee crisis. According to model notes by Jerry Flores, criminology in immigration means the expansion of the same to control the influx of people. The objective is to keep out unauthorized migration and protect the integrity of a country's borders. According to Stuffy 2013, the extension in the use of criminal law to stem immigration is crimigration, and it is basically about applying laws to keep off undesirable immigrants. This has been occasioned because certain nations have had to deal with a huge influx of migrants, primarily illegal. Hence, applying criminal law on them as a form of social control can effectively deal with the problem. The European refugee crisis demonstrates the need to deal with the influx of migrants in a new and effective way. Within a short period, more than 1 million migrants entered Germany alone. Such huge numbers are not sustainable and can potentially fracture social harmony within the host nation. Evidence of this is the rise of far-right parties in Europe that oppose the open-door policy to immigration. Next.
Alright everyone, so what is crimigration? Crimigration refers to the expansion of immigration consequences, such as the deportation or exclusion based on criminal convictions. It also involved criminalizing certain forms of conduct, including marrying to achieve immigration benefits. It also involved prosecuting offenses such as unlawful border crossing and being in the country illegally. When immigrants engage in such conduct, they are excluded via incarceration, later deportation. In policing, those who are prime candidates for exclusion, authorities in jurisdictions, such as the USA, focus on migrants from Latin America and from Muslim countries. In such a case, national security is the overriding concern. Migrants from South America could be affiliated with gangs and drug cartels, increasing insecurity in the United States. The same applies to immigrants from Muslim-majority countries. The fear is that they could be terrorists or members of terrorist cells, but with express instructions to infiltrate with the objective of launching an attack. Crimigration often targets people of color, and it's routinely carried out in diverse neighborhoods. Unlike regular citizens, who have been taken through due process in case of engagement in criminal activities, with crimigration, the officials have wide discretion on what to do once they encounter cases. So next up, I'm going to pass it back to Jennifer.
Stuff 2013 argues that crimigration is a product of the free movement of people in an age of fear. Officials fear that the migrants could be members of a terrorist cell, and their objective is to enter a country and launch an attack. Another fear is that the migrants are undesirable people who are likely to engage in criminal activities. Those activities could involve engagement in the drug trade or supporting those doing the same. Crimigration does not just involve law enforcement agencies. According to the law, Employers should report people who are not documented or face sanctions in their employment. Criminal law is meant to foster social control, but with the massive influx of migrants, it is challenging to deal with the issue. Applying the law also serves the purpose of discouraging would-be migrants. Next.
The ongoing refugee crisis. The current refugee crisis in Europe is due to the instability in the Middle East, parts of Africa, and Central Asia. At the height of the crisis, the origin of much of the migrants was Syria, which has been embroiled in civil war. Another source of migrants was from Afghanistan, the Horn of Africa, and the Sahel region. In between 2015 and 2016, about 1 million refugees entered the EU, mainly from Syria. EU is a highly desired destination because it has unified police for dealing with immigration. The region also has an asylum system for those fleeing from persecution. Also, the immigrants can be distributed within the region. Finally, unlike the USA, crimmigration is not used extensively in the bloc. It has not had to deal with the refugee crisis such as the one that took place in 2015 and 2016. However, in the quest to reach European Union, thousands of refugees have died in the sea as they moved in rickety boats. Also, the migrants use organized criminal gangs and smugglers to move across the border. Next.
The crisis is contributed by high incomes in Europe, plenty of jobs, and the promise of a good life. The rule of law, human rights, freedom of worship, access to education, and such things attract migrants to move to high-income countries and leave behind their original homes. Europe is also peaceful and stable with competent governance and strong institutions. Therefore, for most migrants, the outlook is great for those looking for a better life. The contributory push factors are poverty at home, political and economic instability, climate change, lack of jobs for young people, organized criminal gangs replacing law enforcement. Next.
The issue that surrounds crimmigration and the refugee crisis is that it subjects victims to different forms of violence, which ultimately resulted in tragedy in the UK and the death of Vietnamese refugees and migrants. There are three main forms of violence: structural, symbolic, and legal, such that each can be applied to the Vietnamese migrants. Structural violence is exacerbated by the inequalities within the labor market, as the migrants are not given proper work conditions and their transportation condition is minimized to save costs for the smugglers that ultimately resulted in the tragedy. There are insufficient structural protections such as healthcare or organizations that helps ensure illegal migrants are being protected sufficiently.
Symbolic violence is perpetuated through migrants enduring inequalities, where the status of being illegal or being smuggled suggests that they're at a disadvantage in the power dynamic. Individuals with power that are instilled by legal statuses allow them to marginalize others. Illegal migrants are unable to protect and defend their rights because they are led to believe that it is the law, and therefore they do not have access to such rights. Finally, legal violence is the suffering from the implementation of laws that creates the violence such that it would seem to be normal. These laws in the UK can be manifested in the forms of migration laws, with the deportation of migrants and forcing them to engage in criminal activities because they do not wish to return to their home country. The combination of the three violence is problematic because it is not just happening in UK, but often documented in the inhuman treatment of migrants with structural racism at the US and Mexico border. Next.
So is crimmigration the solution to refugee crisis? As such, the relation to legal violence is that it has given law enforcement agents excessive powers. The due process is not followed, and that means an unjust outcome when crimmigration is applied. Sometimes it is used as a tool to harass minorities. It might also criminalize normal actions such as falling in love, asserting personal rights. In other words, crimmigration makes migrants prone to exploitations. They are exploited by criminal gangs who assist them cross borders and then by law enforcement agents under special immigration powers. Next to Jennifer.
A most lasting solution would involve rich countries like Britain supporting developing ones like Vietnam in matters relating to governance, avoiding interference with domestic affairs, and increasing trade as a tool for creating trade and prosperity in developing nations. Immigration does not lead to good outcomes, but the influx of illegal persons can destabilize nations, especially small but prosperous European countries. The criminal gangs smuggling people should be stopped and members forced to face justice. Some further stress that the immigration law should be effective if it were less reliant on a specific instance to decide if someone should be excluded, but tell a more holistic story of how the individual may contribute to the economy or the destination nation and reintroduction into the community.
And that is all. Thank you very much for listening.